Hey guys, it's Enigma Hood. So today I'm going to talk about presuppositionalist apologetics. Presuppositionalism is kind of a new thing, at least as far as I can tell, because it seems like it's a new tactic that some apologetics are trying to use. And it's not even an apologetic. It's this really stupid weaseling around to confuse people into discrediting their position. And it doesn't work because all they're doing is revealing their own stupidity. I'm going to put some links in the description so you can actually check out some videos of these presuppositionalist morons. It's being used by this guy named I don't even know I can't pronounce his last name, some Canadian motherfucker. And Eric Hovind, son of convicted fraudster Kent Hovind, who went to prison for tax evasion. And it seems like they want to use this because it, like all fallacies, it gives an impression to people who aren't familiar with fallacies that they are right when in fact they are wrong and they're using fallacies. The biggest fallacy that they're using is a fallacy of equivocation and a few other fallacies, but let's get into some of what they do. They don't actually make an argument. They ask questions. And in fact, if you go to this Psy motherfucker's website, the first thing you see is just a bunch of questions and buttons that you have to click on which sets up his fallacy. The first question is it possible for humans to have knowledge or something like that? And the answer is, of course, yes. And then he asks, how much knowledge of the universe do you know? And the answer is very small. The answer isn't meaningful. You shouldn't give a number, first of all. Definitely don't give a number. The only meaningful answer is something very small, but you don't know for certain. The next question is it possible, out of all the knowledge that we don't know, that something in there can refute everything that we do know? Is it possible that everything we know could be wrong, could be refuted by something in all the unknown? And this is where a lot of atheists mess up. They'll say yes without knowing their presuppositionalist position because they have an agenda. They're not actually interested in acquiring knowledge or having an intelligent conversation. What they're doing is complete rhetoric. All of these questions are rhetorical questions. It's just there to prove their point. So from their point, the correct answer is no. And that's actually the honest answer anyway. Some things cannot be wrong. Some things that we know cannot be wrong. Things that are defined in a system cannot be wrong. What's an example of that? 1 + 1 = 2. In the real number system. That is a fact that has been proven and it cannot be wrong. It cannot be wrong. There is nothing that we will ever discover in the universe that will prove 1 + 1 does not equal 2. Now you might be saying, Enigma Hood, wait a minute, you made another video about how mathematics does not prove that God exists, and you pointed out an example of 1 + 1 = 1 in two-element Boolean algebra, two-element Boolean arithmetic or algebra, whatever it is. Yeah, two-element Boolean algebra. Well, guess what? That's a different system. Now, you can have many different mathematical systems, but they don't disprove the rules of another system. There is a mathematical system which rejects infinitism. There's only finitism. But that does not mean that infinity does not exist in the real number system. You can have a number system or a mathematical system where you define all the rules yourself and they are different or even are completely contradictory to the rules of another mathematical system. However, that mathematical system's rules are still 100% true to its system. So what I'm saying is that even though the system could be arbitrary and the rules are also arbitrary, once they have been set up, the rules are now objective to the system and they cannot be wrong. And this is just one example of a system. There are many systems. Games, for example, are systems. Chess, baseball. The rules of baseball, for example, cannot be wrong, even though we have other variations of baseball like softball, which have different rules. However, the rules, like for example, I believe, I'm not an expert on baseball or softball, but I believe in softball you can double up on first base. But you can't do that in baseball. However, that rule in softball does not refute that rule in baseball. They're two different systems. So because of that, this knowledge cannot be wrong. We're never going to go out to another planet and discover some aliens who are going to, give us new information that refutes what we know about a game. No, that's impossible. It's never going to happen. So, there are some things that we can know with absolute certainty. Then they'll say something like, do you believe there is a such thing as absolute truth? Those are weasel words. Like the word truth is a weasel word. It's an because they try to set up an equivocation fallacy. So try to avoid even using that word truth. Sometimes it's kind of unavoidable, but the problem is that people define truth in so many different ways. So if you're using the word truth in one way, and they're thinking truth means something else, then you're going to get into an equivocation fallacy, which is the biggest problem with these apologetic fucks. So from there, they might ask something like, Sai usually butts in at this point, and he'll ask something like, I understand that you use a lot of reason. I mean, he has this thick Canadian accent, and I can't even pull it off. It's like, Canada, I mean, anyway, so he says, is it possible? Well, no, he asks, how do you know your reasoning is valid? That's what he asks. Well, there's two different ways of answering that question. You could say that, I'll give you the long version first, because I think that it would help. You use reasoning to help you with systems. You use reasoning in reference to systems. So we could use it in reference to reality. Reality is a system. It is a system. Games are a system. Math is a system. To simplify things, we'll use a game as an example, and we'll try to use reason to help win the game. So let's talk about baseball. I reason that if our pitcher strikes the batter, we will win the game. That is my reasoning. So then we carry that out, and of course we lose. So what do we do then? We then have to assess our reasoning, and we look and see if our reasoning was consistent with the system, and in fact it wasn't. So therefore, there is an objective fact that our reasoning was inconsistent with the system. Now maybe we are not capable of understanding whether or not our reasoning was consistent with the system or not. That has nothing to do with the fact that there is an inconsistency there. So I could delude myself. I could be deluded, I could be on drugs, I could be insane, and I could still proclaim that my reasoning is going to help us win the game. But that does not change the fact that it doesn't. So there is an objective truth. If you're using a reasoning in reference to a system, the system is objective. And you can if you're capable of understanding consistency with the system, then you can assess the validity of your rationale. And that's exactly what we do in science. The problem with that's exactly what we do with reality. The problem with reality, though, is unlike games or unlike mathematics, we don't know all the rules to the system. We know all the rules to games. We know all the rules to mathematics, but we don't know all the rules to reality. We know a lot of them, and we know a lot of them to high degrees of certainty, but we don't know all of them. And so that's why this idea of absolute certainty can't really be applied to reality, because the only way to be absolutely certain of things in reality is to know all the rules. You can be absolutely certain in mathematics. That's why you can prove things in mathematics. 1 + 1 = 2. 0.9 repeating equals 1. A lot of people don't like that. They don't think it's logical, and that's a good example. I always like to point that out. It's a good example of where logic and truth and fact are two different things, and I use that word truth, but I have to use it there. 0.9 repeating equals 1. That is a fact. No matter what you do, you can't disprove it. Even though people have been trying for years and years, decades, they can't do it. That is how we can know if our reasoning is consistent with the system. And then he'll try to say that, you're using your reasoning to validate your reasoning. He'll try to accuse you of circular reasoning. So let's go back to that example. If I were using circular reasoning to say my reasoning is valid, then I would be saying striking the batter will help us win the game, and I know this because I know it. That is an example of circular reasoning. So I will proclaim that even after we have lost. And then that would be an example of circular reasoning. But it does not change the fact that there is an objective inconsistency between the reasoning and the system. It's just up to the individual making the reasoning to be able to catch that or not. Maybe he can't. Maybe he's insane. Who knows? But you're not, if you're able to see the inconsistency, then you obviously are not. You obviously are not using your reasoning to validate your reasoning. If you're able to say it's inconsistent, then you're able to recognize objective facts. It's as simple as that. I mean, look at other animals. Human beings are not the only ones using reason and logic. Look at chimpanzees. They make a tool, which is basically just a stripped twig that's long and thin, and they stick it inside of ant hills or termite hills to get termites or ants on the stick, and then they eat it. That is a tool. In order to make that tool, they need to use reason and logic. Obviously, if their reasoning wasn't valid, they wouldn't be able to make that tool. The fact that they are able to make that tool and produce positive objective results proves that they understand reason. And they're not using their reasoning to validate their reasoning. They're using the objective system and seeing that their tool is consistent with the system and obtaining their objective. I hope that made sense. Then he'll try to pull off some kind of thing like, how do you know, is it possible that you're being mind controlled or some bullshit like that? And then at that point you say it is completely irrelevant because it doesn't change the objectivity of the system. Anyway, post in the comment section what you think. Look at those videos. I'm not going to include them as part of this video because I don't want to bog it down with stupidity. But click on the links in the description and look at some of those videos to see just how stupid these apologetics are and how stupid Cy and Eric are because they are dumb motherfuckers. This is Enigma Hood signing off.